I spent 100 days in Minecraft's most realistic mod, TerraFirmaCraft. In this mod, you get sent back to the Stone Age and have to make your way to the Iron Age with techniques and technology that ancient humans used centuries ago. My end goal is to reach the Iron Age within 100 days, so let's see if I can make it in time. This mod puts emphasis on realism. That means no punching trees. So to make my first tools, I pick up rocks from the ground and I smack two of them together and carve out the tool I want. This is called knapping. After making my basic tools, I gather some wood and dry grass for later and start exploring for a nice place to live. While searching, I found clay, which is essential for making tools that will help me survive and advancing to the next stage. After more wandering, night started to fall, so I found myself a hole to hide in until day arrives. Until I get a spawn point, I don't want to be out at nighttime. After cowering away for the night, I kept moving on and managed to find a boar. And after getting my ass kicked, I managed to kill it. I have to kill you, I'm sorry. He's charging me. I have to kill him fast. Oh god! So now I've got some pork to help me not starve. By now you've probably also noticed the water meter. I just have to make sure I drink fresh water and not salt water. Fresh water is marked by cattails, so that makes it easy to spot. At nighttime, I found another safe little cave area and decided to make a fire. Throwing down one log and 3 sticks and using a fire starter I made, started a fire so I could cook the food that I fought tooth and nail for. After more wandering, I stumbled upon a nice relatively flat area that also has a hot spring to boost my regeneration, and I decided that this is where I'll live. So I started terraforming the area to make it more to my liking. Now that I've gotten situated, I'll make some pottery with the clay. Sculpting works the same way knapping does, however there is another step. Using the grass and logs I collected earlier, I set the unfired items in a hole and cover it with both grass and logs and then set it on fire. After 8 in-game hours, the items will be ready. After finishing my pottery and getting myself set up a little bit more, I went out to gather different types of food. In this mod, I have to watch my nutrient levels to keep my HP topped off. Eating different food types will be the key to thrive instead of just survive. While exploring, I set up what I call beacons to ensure I know where I'm going, because getting lost could be a severe setback. Day 8 was spent finishing up my little journey and returning back to base. When I returned, I decided to create more molds for tools, and the item that would help us get our first step into metal, which is the sifting pan, but we'll take a look at this after the firing process. With the pan finished, I can sift nuggets out of the gravel that contains metal. This type of gravel commonly spawns in rivers, and I'll be doing this for a while because each nugget is only worth just 1/10 of an ingot. After gathering gold and silver, I decided to prepare to make a journey to find copper. Gold and silver can't be used for tools on their own, so copper is my main target. Before that, I started a farm to hopefully have some vegetables waiting for me upon my return. On my way, I committed a tragedy. In my desperation for a large hide to make a bed to set my spawn point, I slaughtered an innocent horse, and I did it for nothing. I killed a horse for no reason. That's a cow. I am sorry, pal. During my search, I was able to find a cow, and this would give me the large hide that I needed to make the bed and set my spawn point, to ensure that if I ever die, I won't end up lost randomly in the wilderness. Now I return to base to set up my uncomfortable bed, empty my inventory, and prepare for another trip. A small note to make, food in this mod expires, so you have to gather food in batches to ensure you don't waste anything. After having the security of my spawn guaranteed, I decided to take to the night to get some XP, but as it turns out, the nights are empty. I spent the first 2 weeks cowering in fear for no reason, which let me know that I wasted a decent amount of time. Maybe I was cowering in fear for no reason. I decided to continue my search for copper, and on the way, I found my first hostile mob, a simple little zombie, who I easily dispatched. And after getting the murder out of my system, I kept on journeying. While searching, I found a hematite ore deposit, and though I didn't know it at the time, this will be crucial for me later on. But for now, it's unusable due to hematite being iron, which is currently far from our grasp. After days of aimlessly wandering and searching, with each step letting my heart sink further into despair, thinking I would never find copper, I stumbled upon a large deposit of copper gravel in the faraway river. I spent the entirety of day 20 continuing my collection to boost us from the Stone Age to the Copper Age. At the start of day 21, I decided that I should have enough to last me a decent amount of time, so after taking a few gravel pieces back with me, I decided to make the multi-day journey back to base to get myself some real tools. On the way back, I found seashells. These will be needed for flux, which is an important material for working with metals. The best place to find these shells is on any saltwater beach, and after this quick detour, I kept making my way back. I made it back to base at the night of day 21. After checking on my farm and realizing that plants in this mod grow extremely slowly, I went to smelt my metal and start making real progress. I decided that since I'm the smartest caveman ever to live due to my guidebook, I'd enter both the Copper and Bronze Ages at the same time. By placing the metal in my vessels that I created earlier, I can smelt the nuggets until they're molten, which I can then pour into the tool molds that I made. In the other vessel, I actually put the metal into a specific ratio of 50% copper, 25% gold, and 25% silver to make black bronze, which is the strongest primitive alloy. And after filling the vessels and lighting them up the same way I did the original pottery, we just have to wait for the magic. At the dawn of day 22, I decided to wait by the metal because if I let it cool, it would solidify and I'd have to light it up and wait another 8 hours. After patiently waiting, I grabbed the vessels and quickly got to work filling my tool molds, and despite attempting to take care of this quickly, I was still too slow, so I'd have to do it again, but even faster. While waiting for that metal to melt, I created the one tool that I did have ready, the saw. Using this, I can turn logs into lumber, giving us access to planks, which are placeable blocks that aren't affected by gravity, which also allows us to craft crafting tables and chests, which would help me hoard more stuff. Once night fell, all the metal melted, and I managed to get all of my tools except the axe, which I missed by 2% of an ingot. My life easier. You have got to be shit. Sucks not to have, but the axe is one of the tools that you could comfortably still use stone to make. With my new pickaxe, I have opened up the world of stone mining to myself. And with this power, I decided to start to flatten my land and prepare to make myself an actual house. While mining stone, you can get the whole raw block by mining every block connected to one of the 6 faces. These raw blocks will come in handy later. From day 23 to 25, I spent the time gathering materials and making myself a house. I didn't want to spend any more nights in the rain. On day 26, I finished my house and a little patio to give me a nice view of the river and the forest across the way. Finally, I was no longer homeless, and building with blocks that didn't fall made this feel like vanilla Minecraft again. But now back to business. I made some barrels with the lumber I created, filled them with water, and set them inside my house. I won't be using these for drinking though. These will be for more of an industrial purpose later on. I changed my mind about not needing the axe, so I smelted down the metal I needed to finish it, and also enough to make a chisel as well. To go along with those, I made some bowls so that I can make more advanced meals to even further boost the nutrition I gain from the foods I find. With that, I spent the night at home, creating my tools, sorting my inventory, and waiting for my pottery to finish. After pondering through the night, I took a look at my diminishing max HP and figured I should put more resources towards getting my nutrition up. I made a clay cooking pot and got ready to fire it up. While waiting for the cooking pot to finish, I used the raw stone I collected along with my new chisel to make smooth stone. With this smooth stone, I can make a quern and a handstone. These two items combined allow me to grind down items, like those seashells for flux. But right now what's more important for us is that the quern is a vital step in bread making. By cutting raw wheat or other grain plants, you can extract the grains from them, and by grinding down the grains in the quern, you get dough. Now you just need some water and some time on the fire, and you'll have bread, fresh from the caveman bakery. After preparing this contraption, my cooking pot finished firing, and I would be able to make soups as well, but I didn't have enough ingredients for that yet. And to top it off, I didn't pay attention to the shelf life of my grains, and they ended up spoiling before I could make the bread. Out of curiosity, I sampled my fermented friend, and the results are what I should have expected. That was a mistake. On day 28, I decided to head back out on another journey, looking for more food and other resources that could help me out. While continuing on my journey, following my beacons, I started hearing footsteps behind me, and as I turn around, I see a bear. Some of these bushes are spiky. Whoa! No! No, it's a bear! No, it's a bear! No! Whoa! Help! I didn't even attempt to fight it. A boar had already almost killed me, and with my mitigated HP, I knew it was in my best interest to not get killed. However, I would remember him for later on. After running for my life, I decided to pick up more shellfish for flux. I attempted to make my way back home, but the bear was in the area, searching for prey. And with my lack of awareness, he got the jump on me. Oh god. Get away from me. No! 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 Once again, I ran for my life, but this moment cemented my goal of coming back with better gear and taking that beast down. I waited for the first rays of sunlight on day 30 to ensure that I'd be able to see my enemy. And thankfully I did, because he reappeared. And I climbed up the mountain and managed to avoid him. No, please. I didn't mean no harm. I meant no harm. After that stressful return trip, I finally had enough food to make soup, so I threw in some water and my random assortment of ingredients and made myself something to get my nutrition up, boosting my max HP. But now it was time to put those animal hides to use. Using the flux I ground from those seashells, I turned one of my barrels into lime water, which would be the first step in preparing a hide to be turned into leather. I just set the hides in the barrel and wait 8 hours for the process to finish. While waiting, I realized I could grind down some bones into bone meal, which I use to fertilize the soil my plants are growing in. Afterwards, I finally made my first loaves of bread. Now that it's the next day, I went back to check on the hides that I left soaking overnight. I set the hides down on a log and scraped them using a knife. Afterwards, I put them in a barrel of regular water and let them soak again. Afterwards, I spent some time reading my guidebook, and then when the 8 hours passed, I set the hides in their last bath in my barrel of tannin. Tannin is made by just placing a log in regular water. The book will tell you which logs are appropriate. With that taken care of, I set out on a mini adventure to gather food while I wait for the leather to finish. On my way back to base, I ran into the horse again, and after failing to befriend him, I just went back home. He probably still remembers me killing his brother. When I made it back, my leather was done, and I used it to create a bellows. This item allows us to increase the standard burn temperature of my fires, which will be useful for metalworking later on. I decided on day 33 to make my way up the river and see what I had near my base. I ended up finding saltpeter, sylvite, and lignite. The first two contain vital nutrients for my plants, while the latter is a form of coal, which will help us later on. Afterwards, I cleared my inventory and decided to embark on another journey for more copper. After days of wandering, I stopped in a small basalt cave to avoid dehydration, and after taking a few steps towards the other end, I stumbled upon a surface-facing copper vein. These nuggets contain much more metal than the ones we sift from gravel. While making my way back, I searched the river for more gold and silver to make more black bronze. After filling my inventory, I continued making my way back to smelt my metal. After a couple days of traveling, I made it back to base. With all the gravel I have, it would take a while to sift it all by hand, but now that I have a saw, I can use the lumber to create a sluice. This will sift the gravel for me automatically by using the force of the water. After placing it in what I think is a secure location and ensuring that the water is flowing through it, I drop the gravel in and wait for it to finish sifting. I decided to gather more logs to burn into charcoal, but figured I'd go a bit further than my usual force to ensure I had quick access to wood when needed. While heading down the river, I noticed there was a volcano near the base and noticed there was some kind of metal in it. I quickly made my way over and was blessed with even more copper to put to use. After collecting my fill through the night, I went back to base and started my charcoal pit. By holding shift while placing logs, you can make a log pile. After placing piles, lighting one of them on fire, and covering it all with non-flammable blocks, all you have to do is wait and reap your charcoal rewards. I collected the charcoal that I started the day prior, and then went back to the volcano to grab the rest of the copper that I could reach. But after checking my metal supplies, I realized I still needed more silver. With my problem from yesterday still in mind, I decided to scour my river yet again, hoping there was more silver I haven't collected. And luckily for me, there was more. After collecting everything, I dropped it off at the sluice, and grabbed some food as I waited. I collected the nuggets from the sluice and started to get the ratio together to make more bronze. I also decided to make a charcoal forge. The forge melts down metal more quickly due to the higher burn temperature, and it has 5 slots to melt multiple at a time. However, during this little test, I realized that while it can melt the individual nuggets quickly, smelting anything in bulk would take so much time and charcoal that it would be better to just smelt them in the pit kiln like I've been doing thus far. Once the dawn had arrived, I started the pit kiln with my metal and decided that I'd check the time to know exactly when I should be back to retrieve it. With my time limit in mind, I went on a micro adventure and returned with 10 seconds to spare. While emptying my vessels, I realized that even though I can't use the charcoal forge to melt everything down efficiently, I can use it to keep what was previously heated up in a liquid state, which will extend the time I have for the metalworking process. After breaking all my ingot molds, I decided to use the molten metal to make tools that weren't of extreme importance but would be helpful nonetheless. Afterwards, I created more ingot molds and set the vessels with them in the kiln so the metal would be liquid again when the molds were ready. I spent day 47 doing much of the same, making as many ingots as possible with the copper I smelt down. You guys will find out why I need all these ingots soon. After turning all of my copper into ingots, it was time to make the next step in the metalworking process. By using a hammer on a block of a specific type of raw stone, I used basalt, you can turn it into a stone anvil. With this anvil, you can weld 2 ingots together. I just used a simple campfire to heat up my ingots to test the process with the minimal risk of fully melting it back down into liquid. After some book reading, I figured out that you have to use the hammer on the outside of the anvil, while the ingots are at a weldable temperature inside the anvil. With that, I made my first welded double ingot. After figuring out the process, I placed 4 ingots at a time inside the charcoal forge and started to weld at maximum speed. After toiling through the night, I finally made 7 double ingots, and with the 7 chaos emeralds in hand, I'm able to make a metal anvil. While the stone anvil is only useful for welding ingots together, metal anvils allow you to forge tools from ingots when they reach a workable temperature, which is lower than the melting point. This allows for the creation of forged tools that perform better and the ability to make combat-focused weapons and armor. I spent the rest of the day and night learning how to forge and creating the tools that I wanted, and also something that would help me in my conquest to take down the bear. I spent day 50 working away until I was able to create my first piece of armor, a copper chest plate. It was far from a full set, but it was better than nothing, and after all the time figuring out how to make it, I felt proud. And I prepared myself for my mission the next day. After sorting out my inventory, I went down to the site of my first encounter, and after scouting the area for hours, the bear was nowhere to be seen. Saddened by this, I started to make my way back to base, but then I saw a zombie and figured he would have to do for my opponent at the moment. After easily vanquishing this foe, I attempted to make my way into a cave to cook the fish that I collected to fix my starvation problem, but then disaster struck. Inside the cave was a skeleton, armed with javelins. The first projectile took away half of my HP, and with my inability to sprint, escaping would be difficult, but I did manage to avoid him. Hoping to make my way into another cave to rest, I ran into a second skeleton, and while trying to use the water for cover from their attacks, I was slain for the first time. I'll let the scene play out for you in real time. It's not the same. It's not the same. Oh my god. No. 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 Wait, if I just go underwater, I don't think that the spirits can reach me under here. No! Well, there's my first death. At the end of this day and the dawn of the new one. Womp, womp. I started day 52 off as naked and barehanded as day 1. With the sting of defeat in my heart, I knew I needed to improve. One thing I needed was more armor to help me in combat, and another was a constant full rotation of all food types. However, now that the winter has struck, getting vegetables will be difficult. But before any of that, I had to retrieve the items that were just taken from me. After getting my stuff back, I went into the cave that led to my downfall, seeking revenge. However, there was only a zombie in there, which would have to suffice. While making my way back with shame still in my heart, I noticed that there was an ore deposit on the rock face that touches the water. It contained limonite, which is an iron-based mineral. While I can't use it yet, it will come into play later. Rather than heading back home, I decided that since I was already out, I continued my search for copper, which led me to a wolf that kicked my ass and almost killed me. You want some? Come get some. Oh my god, no. No, I can't die this far away. And with me being so far from base, I ran. Losing my stuff that far would be problematic, and dying so soon after the first death would be a severe blow to my morale. I stopped for the night and tried to recover. I continued moving on the morning of day 53. Thankfully, no sign of the wolf, and after some wandering, I managed to stumble upon another volcano, once again containing copper. A little bit away from the volcano, I found even more, lightly submerged in the nearby river, and mined through the night. I continued on my journey even though my inventory was mostly full. I figured that I could keep looking just in case I could find a deposit that I could come back to. After making it past the gravel deposit that I got my initial copper injection from, I found a mountain with malachite, another copper-bearing ore. I decided it was finally time to make support beams. Using these, I can prevent cave-ins, allowing myself to gather ores more deeply in the mountain with mitigated fear of collapse. I mined my way through the night, filled up my inventory, and decided it was finally time to head back home. I spent all of day 55 making my way home and arrived at the afternoon of day 56. I spent my time making food and recovering while I planned my next move. Once I got situated, I started smelting more copper, and while I was waiting, I decided to spend more time gathering wood, and sadly, my first axe broke. With the tree that I attempted to fell still halfway intact, I decided to use it as a memorial site for our first fallen tool. While going through my ingot making process, I had a mild disaster. One of my campfires went out of control, lighting fire to the logs I had waiting in storage. While attempting to put out the fire, I almost got myself killed. Whoa, 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 whoa. No! No, what's happening? What just happened? Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. I can make it. I can make it. Though both my house and I think we've survived, my wood supplies were very diminished. With that mild setback out of the way, I went to replenish my log piles and also kept forging away for the next day. Near the end of day 60, I finally completed what I wanted. I created 2 more armor pieces, and now I was only missing shoes, but on the bright side, I also have a sword. A true weapon to defend myself against any who oppose me. Once day broke, I decided to embark once again, hoping to find more copper and also hopefully vegetables. Though I couldn't find copper, I was able to find more gold and silver, in a decent amount too. With this, I could add more bronze to my collection and hopefully get to the next tier of anvil. Anvils can only work on metals of the same tier, so the copper anvil can't forge my bronze tools. After getting my fill, I made my way back to the house. After a day-long journey, I made it back to base on day 66. I took my gravel to the sluice and let it get to work. As I went to check on the progress later in the day, calamity had struck again. I saw that my sluice was missing, along with all of the gravel. What happened? Where'd all my stuff go? How? What? Where? No, all of that was for nothing. All the time that I spent gathering more silver was wasted, and I reached another pitfall in my journey to make it to the Iron Age. With this setback in mind, I decided that it was time to use the book to plan out my next move with better information. Inside the book, I learned which rocks and what latitudes I should be looking for to find the metals that I need. With more knowledge at my disposal, I prepared to embark again and hopefully find an ore vein to ease my tortured soul. I headed back out to the mountain near the bear attack. Knowing now that diorite and high up places can contain both gold and silver, I made a trek to hopefully gather what I needed to create my alloys. Though I didn't find any silver, what I did find was tin, and a boatload of it. Since I just need bronze of any type, this would be perfect for my next goal. Bronze in high quantities is what is needed to make it into the Iron Age. I gathered as much as I could through the night. I spent some time in the morning completely filling my inventory with tin before heading back to base. After making it back, I realized that tin was such a minor component of bronze, and that I would still need a lot of copper to make progress. Here we are, day 69, the funny number has arrived, and I'm sad to say that I wasted it. I went on a journey for more copper and found none. Nothing cool or exciting happened, and the luck of number 69 brought me no benefits for this day or the next. While on my search for copper, my prospector's pickaxe picked up what it assumed to be gold, but upon collection, it turned out to just be pyrite, which would not help me at the moment. But I took it anyway just in case. With my inventory full for my journey, I made my way back to base. On day 73, I set back out on another adventure and eventually stumbled upon my old nemesis, Mr. Bear. And this time I was prepared. With a weapon and armor and a sneak attack in the night, I was able to vanquish him. Sadly, the footage for this was corrupted, and I only have the audio, so you can just enjoy what I've cooked up for you. How would you feel if I were to just... Hiya! Oh my goodness. Oh wait, actually, it's not as tough as he was before. Son of a bitch, he's still tough. I'll fight you a little bit. Oh wait. Son of a whore. Come here. Where'd you go? Bitch, come back here. Where are you? You piece of shit. Oh, I hear you. I'm gonna regenerate. You know what? Fuck regenerating. Run your pockets, bitch. I've achieved my revenge. While making my way through a basalt area, I stumbled upon the hematite deposit that we found earlier. Once again, the footage was corrupted, but needless to say, I mined what I could. On day 76, I made my way back to the Malachite Mountain, and set up some more support beams and got to mining away. I also found more iron in this area, and I would keep that in mind if I ever needed more. With my inventory filled once again, I made my way back to base. I arrived home on the morning of day 78, and started the industrialization process, which lasted for a few days, until I ran out of copper, which meant I needed to embark on another journey for more. On day 81, I spent time using my prospector's pickaxe near the base, praying that I could detect copper closer to home, and thankfully I did. But now comes the hard part of actually finding it. I got out my tools and started creating a mine. While spending days fruitlessly searching through the mine that I created, I made a mistake. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but I caused a cave collapse that almost buried and killed me. No. What just happened? Thankfully, I was able to safely make my way out of the wreckage, and after this almost fatal encounter, I was a bit hesitant to mine more, but I was reaching the end of my journey and I had to press forward. I mined aimlessly as fast as possible, hoping to find more copper, and with time not being on my side, I decided that at the end of the day, if I didn't find any, it was time to do more research. I read the book more to find out exactly how the prospector's pickaxe searches for ore veins. After getting a shift in perspective, I realized that the max depth that I would have to go would be 13 blocks. I won't bore you with the process of figuring that out, but on the bright side, I have what will hopefully be a better process. And after not too much digging, I finally struck copper. I was sad that I wasted so much time beforehand, but at least now I can mine to my heart's content, and I can gather the resources that I would need to continue. I did all that shit for nothing. With my inventory full at the end of the day, I went back to base and got to smelting. I spent days 88 and 89 once again forging and welding, making enough bronze double ingots to get myself the bronze anvil. After that, I used the remaining bronze to turn into sheets, and then double sheets for my next step in evolution. But near the end of day 89, I realized that I still needed more copper, so in the morning, I would set back out. On day 90, I went into a cave that was near my mining site. With such an open area, I was hoping to point myself in the right direction for where to go to mine more copper as quickly as possible. What I didn't expect was that the cave walls would be a shining beacon of immediately accessible copper. With the aid of my support beams, I collected as much copper as I could. This would surely be enough. At the end of the day, I made my way back to base and continued smelting. While waiting for my metal to melt down, I realized that I was running low on coal and charcoal, so I went back up the river to find that coal deposit that we found earlier and got to mining. Sadly, when I returned, the metal had already solidified, so I decided to put it back in the kiln and mine more copper. With a better sense of time, I went to mine through the night. At dawn, I made my way back and managed to grab the metal while it was still liquid. After welding the last of my double ingots and pounding them into sheets and then welding another to it, yes, it takes that many steps. I had 8 double sheets. With 8 bronze double sheets, I made the crucial component needed to make iron tools, the bloomery. Now I just have to set up a multi-block structure and push past the Bronze Age and finally get my hands on some iron. I spent day 93 gathering materials to make the bloomery. I needed non-flammable blocks that weren't affected by gravity, and raw stone would take too long to carve out. So I grabbed sand to make mortar so I could craft bricks. I placed the sand in lime water, and I'll have to let it soak to become mortar, so with that, I go explore as I wait. After the 8 hours are done, I head to the barrel to collect my mortar, and I realize that I definitely overestimated how much I would need. I will never need mortar again. I'm gonna assume you're done, right? Yes. Huh? Oh shit. Uh-oh. After crafting the bricks, I made the bloomery structure and placed the bloomery window. Then I climbed to the top of the chimney, loaded it up with the materials, and lit the fires that would get us true iron. On day 95, my raw iron bloom was finished. After retrieving it, I set it on the anvil and started working on it to refine the bloom, then turning the refined bloom into an actual wrought iron ingot. Finally, after 95 days of dedication, we have reached the Iron Age. I have iron! I've done it! I've reached my goal! I did it! But now I needed more iron to be able to actually work with the iron for tools and armor, and for that, I would need an anvil. So I spent the next couple of days making more iron blooms and refining what I have. I decided that while waiting for the bloomery to finish, I would search for more hematite near the volcano. I detected a deposit of it while searching for copper, and as I searched, I was lucky enough to find some surface-facing ores in a ravine, and there was a massive amount of iron, and even more in a connected cave. There was also more copper which could come in handy later, but at the moment I was just interested in the iron. After gathering my fill, I spent the last of my days working away. After days of mining, smelting, and forging, I was finally able to craft an iron anvil, and also make my first items. I chose to start with a pair of iron leggings, and after forging those, I decided to forge a mace for my later vengeance against the skeletons. And with this, my 100 days were completed. But I kept working. Okay, so I'll just let you guys know. There were 2 days of footage that I had lost near the beginning, and I did not realize they were gone until I finished recording and started compiling everything together. So I actually ended up playing for 101 days. So to be true to the spirit of the video's namesake, I'm not counting this last day of progress, but I will let you know that by the end, I created an iron pickaxe, sword, and axe. And here we are at the finale. This is what I assumed was day 100, and where I wanted to stop my progress. Through the turbulence of this journey, with my ups and my downs, we thankfully managed to get to the Iron Age, and actually have some iron items within 100 days. I stopped to survey my land and my creations. I thought back to the start when I had nothing. The points in time where I felt like I wouldn't make it anywhere, and now this moment where everything turned out, for the most part, how I wanted it. I want to thank you guys for joining me on this adventure, and hopefully we'll have more to come.